Welcome to another edition of the Backdoor Cut Show. This is Zach, Barnburner Bro, with my three amigos, Slim, Big Rich, and the Chief. Chief, we'll start off with you. How are you doing?
Man, bro, I am good. The weather is delicious outside in Memphis, Tennessee right now. It is
yummy.
It is 73 degrees. Everyone's out on Main Street. I can see the birds are chirping. The sun is shining. I was listening to Fleetwood Mac today, the Rumors album, which, by the way, for anyone listening, check that guy out. That's a good listen. It'll make you feel good, and it'll make you remember that life is not about basketball, and that the Grizzlies do not control how you feel or how you act or how you treat other people. So just a quick little Fleetwood Mac plug there for y'all.
Yeah, shots fired, huh?
Not necessarily.
Well, what's up? This is Slim, and I've been depressed all week and snapping at Chief and Bro in group texts because of my state of mind that the Grizzlies have caused and have led me to during these trade talks. And it's been raining in Southern California for like a week straight.
Whoa.
So that's how I'm doing, but let's get to it. What's up, Rich?
Yo, what's up, man? Yeah, like Chief said, it's a beautiful day here in the M, man. Just got in from a nice afternoon down on the river. You know, people out, the Grizz fit, people are playing some ball down there. It's a good time in the city, aside from the Grizzlies, but and the Tigers yesterday, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good pick-me-up. You know, I'm glad we can mix it in. Some happy notes, you know. All right, so we're recording this on Sunday afternoon. The Grizzlies just beat the Knicks with, you know, half of their roster being new and half of our roster being out or hurt or waiting to be traded or not waiting to be traded. We'll find out, I guess. The deadline is trade deadline is this Thursday. So we will have a few days to maybe make some moves, or as Mason is very assured, not make any moves and have the same team, similar to kind of how it was last year. But today in our show, we'd like to break down some of the rumors, just kind of go over them, discuss the validity of them, or if Memphis should consider them, pursue them, or just kind of look for something else or stay put on them. So just tossing that up. That's a hot topic in the NBA this week. I know we got the Super Bowl happening later today, but if you're a hoop head like the four of us are, then this is probably what you've spent most of your time thinking about, not necessarily the Super Bowl. I know that might be blasphemous, but that's just the truth. All right, so first one on the docket, rumor surfaced, I think like Wednesday, Thursday, something like that, of the interest that the Portland Trail Blazers might have in Marc Gasol. So obviously Mark and Mike have been publicly told they're going to be traded, or they're being shopped at least, and the Blazers have come forth as a suitor for Mark. So, Rich, do you have any thoughts on that? Some of the buzz that you've been hearing, some of the combinations of potential player moves and stuff on that trade. What have you thought?
Yeah, I think for me, when I saw the Blazers deal, I think, you know, anytime you're getting back Nurkic, Evan Turner, possibly Miles Leonard, possibly Zach Collins in the first, like, dude, I'd pull the trigger on that, like, in a heartbeat. Like, Nurkic is just a solid contributor. Evan Turner is kind of like a Swiss Army knife, can kind of plug in, do whatever. Miles Leonard and Zach Collins are two young bigs with upside, with range. And, you know, granted, you know, their pick might not be that high, but also so possibly getting Wade Baldwin back, our old friend Wade Baldwin, possibly back as well in the deal. So for me, I think out of a lot of the trades, you know, that I'm sure we'll get into throughout the show, the Blazers one is definitely one that I would love to see the Grizzlies pull the trigger on. But, you know, the Grizzlies are probably not going to pull the trigger on it.
Do you think that the Blazers would actually include Nurkic in a move like that? Because I know he's like a lot younger.
Yeah,
he's like
right.
$10 million cheaper, I think. I would be really...
I'd be shocked if they did, like, because, you know, when you think of their, like, you know, we throw around the term big three kind of loosely nowadays, but their big three, you know, if you will, is McCollum, Lillard, and Nurkic. I would think they would be asinine to send Nurkic our way, but, you know, as a Grizzly fan, I would be more than willing to welcome Nurkic to Bluff City.
Any other thoughts from the other guys on that one? or what you've been hearing about Portland and Marc Gasol?
So Portland just completed a trade. They got Rodney Hood. They sent out Nick Stauskas and Wade Baldwin and some draft picks, I think. So they do appear to be in on winning this year. They needed some wing help. But like you guys said, I don't see why Portland would even think about doing this deal in the least bit.
Yeah, because Nurkic, let's see, he's making 12 through 21, 22. I mean, he's putting up like about the same amount of production as Gasol. I mean, I think if they offer that to you, then that checks your box of, young player.
Yeah.
And if they're offering a first, then, it's going to be late, but I don't care. I mean, I think honestly getting a first for Mark is pretty aggressive in that if anyone offers us a first for him in any manner, that's probably something we should really consider.
That's what we discussed when we first started talking about these, was how we want either a young player or a first. So to get potentially both is obviously a home run, I think. And the Blazers, like Mason said, seem to be ready to deal. They can't get over that hump. People are questioning whether McCollum and Lillard can actually do anything in the playoffs. And they're a NBA hungry market over there. So I think they're trying to do things. And Nurkic is probably better than Mark right now, to be honest with you. But Mark has that pedigree, I think, that right or not, it's like one of those things. It's like kind of a move by the Blazers to say, hey, look, we're going out and getting a guy who is like a what we used to know as an all-star center. So that might be more like us going and getting Jeff Green, which wasn't a good idea, but like that, at the time we thought it was. Like we were like, oh, this is the really athletic wing player we've been saying we needed to put with the core four. So I think it could be like that. I think the Blazers maybe could be in that mental state that we were back when we traded for Jeff Green.
Yeah, so getting a haul back like that would kind of go against what Zach Lowe wrote in his latest article for ESPN about Mark. He said, there's not been much buzz about Gasol, though he is hoping for a trade. Sources familiar with the matter say teams are waiting to see if the Grizzlies' asking price drops a bit. So who knows what the Blazers are actually offering, but like if they were offering that as the return haul, then I think we would have to do it.
Let me ask you, if Nurkic is not in there, but everything else is, you don't do it?
I don't think so.
Not even for that first rounder?
If
the first round's still included, but no Nurkic, and they just fill someone else in there.
But I'd rather not take on Evan Turner.
And what's his contract like for the rest? I mean, you probably have to make the money work, right?
Yeah. So Turner's making 17.8 this year, and then 18.6 next year, and so he's off the books after next year.
Okay, so I'm gonna need a young player too, I think.
So you're out. The first round pick's not enough for you.
Yeah, because it's not good enough. It's not gonna be good enough for me.
Okay.
I feel like we should be able to get a better return.
Well, apparently the Grizzlies do too, if their asking price is high. So I hope that is the case.
Right.
But I think that me personally seeing a first round pick out there for Mark is probably, I'm almost maybe jumping a little bit too fast to get that. Because recently he had been playing, he's starting to play up to that like return now, but no, he was not at all. But
well, listen, when Gasol wants to play, he's still really good. But when he's discontent, he's not. So a change of scenery and a chance to win, you would think he would have a good mood and be good Mark going forward.
Good Mark going forward. Well put. Well put. All right, another team that I haven't really seen much, but it's been tossed about a little bit is the Spurs. So some folks are talking about a Mark and Powell swap, which I'm not sure what. Have you guys seen anything else on that one at all, or just that's the basics of it, a Mark for Powell swap?
Yeah, I think it's just something like that, and it's just a natural fit, knowing there's been mutual interest between Gasol and the Spurs franchise before. So it would probably be the coolest of all Gasol trades, but it may not bring back the best return for the Grizzlies.
Yeah, if you doesn't get my nipples hard unless you throw DeJounte Murray in or Lonnie. I mean, Lonnie hurt though, but I like him. I like him as a young prospect. And at first, what is it? Literally a Mark Powell straight up swap is what the trade is, or is there any?
So they
other
need
talk?
about $8 million.
Yeah.
Powell's at 16, Mark's at like 25, I think.
Okay, dude. Yeah, you throw in DeJounte Murray or Lonnie Walker or even what is it, Derek White, or what have you.
Any of their guards.
Him in there with Powell, then we're talking. But if you're talking Mark and Powell straight up, like, no, I'm good, love.
Yeah.
No, those definitely, any of those guards would make me listen a little bit longer for sure, because they've all shown promise. Lonnie not so much, but Derek White or DeJounte Murray, then yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I know Derek White went off against us earlier this year in San Antonio. He might be stepping into Patty Mills' shoes. Patty Mills.
And Mark is theoretically a fit next to LaMarcus. LaMarcus likes to play down on the low block still. And Mark likes to be more of the 4-man now, out facilitating the offense. So it's a nice fit, and Mark likes to move the ball the Popovich way. So I guess that's just kind of where those come from, just people speculating. I don't think there's been anything actually reported on it.
That would be like the oldest team. Like DeRozan's 29, LMA's 33, Patty Mills, he's 30. I didn't realize that. Rudy Gay's 32, Bellinelli's 32. That's a veteran group right there.
Yeah, it kind of fits their age too. That someone said that, like, he fits, like, the Spurs are obviously not trying to tank ever, it seems like. So he fits into that age and prestige and like pop system, like Slim said. So what do we think about Mark to the Hornets? I know that's one that's been discussed too. Who's willing to talk about that deal?
I think it's just a natural fit, right?
Yeah, they need a center. I think Zeller's getting most of their minutes there now, and he's getting overpaid for what he's able to do. And I know they really want to get off that Batum contract. He's making pretty close to what Mark is making, but for an extra year. So I guess would you take on that Batum contract if they sent that in a first for Gasol?
No, I need a young player too, I think.
So you have to throw in someone else on our end, and then they match it with
like a Malik Monk or something.
Malik Monk
is often what everyone says, which I don't know what I think about him, because he really is, like, he has like all the upside, intangibles, athletic as hell, but he's really small, like weirdly small for a 2 guard. He's like 6'2", 6'3". He kind of looks like a point guard. He really didn't look much bigger than Conley, but he plays bigger. I always thought he was like 6'6" in my head. But yeah, no, I mean, like a guy like that's kind of what we're looking to get here. So I think it'd be a reasonable deal. And the first could end up being decent if the Hornets kind of keep on their trajectory. I know they're maybe 8, 7 seed playoff bound. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think Malik Monk's like pretty enigmatic, but you're talking young prospect, first rounder. And I mean, if we have to take on Batum's contract, then so be it. But if they're throwing in a young and a first, they've got my interest.
Yeah, sure.
I'm listening.
Yeah, I'd rather take on Biyombo's contract than Batum's, because I think Batum has 3 years left. But definitely a chance to get Malik Monk. That's the type of talent you're looking to acquire right now, that lottery level talent with superstar potential. And to kind of grow along Jaren, and we'll see with guys like Bruno, who got his second 10-day today.
Shout out Bruno.
20 days from being 20 days away.
I don't really know if Bruno is going to be a legitimate NBA player, but hey, let's take a chance and see. And that's kind of my thinking with Malik Monk, is he does have some potential. We just saw him up close and personal. He can score the ball, and could be a Monte Ellis type player, and could be really fun. Memphis is close to his home in Arkansas. So yeah, I would definitely talk to Charlotte and see what they want to do, because we know Michael Jordan and company want to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. I'm a little more hesitant to take on the Batum contract since it is 3 years, but when I sit down and think about it, it's like that's not in the range where we should be trying to be good anyway. It's really like 3 years from now, so I guess that's technically year 4. That's kind of when I think, and we'll talk about that later on, but kind of when I think we should shoot to like be competing for the playoffs again. And anything we try to do like a win now before that, I think is just going to end up disastrous, and we're going to end up making some bad decisions.
Yeah, and then that final year it could be another asset that you trade away to get more picks or whatever, right? So who knows? It wouldn't be a deal breaker for me, but I would just not want to start there.
Definitely not. We've already seen our share of $25 million players go awry. Another one seen floating around is Mark to Detroit, and they actually, I believe, I don't know if it's on record, express interest in Mark and Mike. So it'd be like the Grizzlies north. Yeah, I guess it's pretty straight up northeast a little bit. I don't know. Geography is hard. But someone they're looking at is Gasol. So a trade that I saw was, Drummond, Reggie Jackson, Stanley Johnson, Bruce Brown, a first. Oh, that's for Mark and Mike. So that's like a huge overhaul.
Fuck that.
I would touch that shit with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah. Because first of all, Stanley Johnson on my bum list. He can't be here. They won't allow him through the airport. That's there. It's like the no-fly kind of thing.
Tony Allen will reappear at the airport.
Well, he lives there actually. I think, right?
I think he's taking
commercials.
Yeah, I think he's officially done with that.
Yeah,
they're seeking a new airport spokesperson.
Justice Winslow, however, if he ever was on my bum list, is no longer. I don't think he was, but not. So he's allowed in the city.
He's off no-fly restrictions. Good.
Yeah. I don't think he ever was on it, but just to clear the record here.
Maybe so.
Yeah, and so just to give folks an idea, Drummond's contract, who would be like the main piece of that, he's making 25 this year, 27 next, and then got a player option for 28 in the third year. He's 25 years old, gets boards, but I don't know if that's necessarily like. I feel like that's just a really big investment for what we're trying to do at this point.
Well, here's a wrinkle. I mean, he could play next to Jaren. Just kind of grab boards, and Jaren could play his more finesse spot that he likes to play, because we see he's not a big rebounder at this point in his career. So Drummond could focus on that, and he's still young enough to reasonably be part of something if it worked out. So that's a devil's advocate of that.
Yeah. Do you guys, is Drummond or like Reggie Jackson, who's making 17 this year, 18 next year? Which of those, would you most like to stay away from in any sort of deal?
Reggie Jackson. I don't know what my beef is. I just can't, man.
He torched us in the playoffs, though.
He did. Yeah. I remember that. That might stem some of it. That could be why it's that, and that's so prevalent. But yeah, man, it's just Drummond, Jackson. It just doesn't seem like it's like conducive to like the timeline we're building. Crazy that Drummond's only 25 years old. I feel like he's been around forever.
Yeah.
And Stanley Johnson, nah, man, bust. Maybe a change of scenery will help him. He has all the physical tools. When he was in Arizona, I was like, damn, man, this dude's about to like come out and like kill it. But it just doesn't happen in Detroit with those wings, man. Stanley Johnson, Henry Ellison, Kennard's shown some life, but yeah.
See, I'd like to have Kennard, man. Like if I'm giving Conley and Gasol, I want 2 firsts, I think. Because to me, Jackson is an expiring base. I don't know if he's technically expiring, but he's a dump to make the salary work. He's not like an asset in this deal. That's them saying, here, have this guy, because we can't afford Mike and Mark unless this bums off our team. So they would look at Stanley Johnson as an asset. So I would nix him, get Kennard instead. Drummond's kind of I don't know, like they probably think he's an asset. I don't know how I feel about it. But for both Conley and Gasol, like 2 first rounders, I mean, that's what I'd be fighting for.
So if they're just trying to get Mark, what would you want in return for just say Marc Gasol from Detroit?
Drummond, Jackson, first rounder.
That would do it for you.
Yeah, because that first rounder is going to be good too. Like,
yeah, they're not good.
They're going to win. They're going to be like the Heat. Maybe not even that good. They're going to win like low 30s in perpetuity now, because they're not doing anything to get better or worse.
Yeah, give me that future first rounder.
Right. Yeah. Like that's when you fuck them, like just like how Danny Ainge, made love to us forcefully.
Sometimes that's not right to
do. Yeah. He didn't make love, really.
Yeah. Okay. I'm like talking. I'm getting talked into Drummond if possible. Do what? Yeah.
You just do Tenacious D there.
You impressed? I may not know that Limp Bizkit covered Bret Michaels, but
no, Bret Michaels sleeps in Poison, my guy.
George Michaels.
You lost credibility there. It's okay.
That's not an area I had credibility in anyway, though.
That's okay. Tenacious D was good. Okay. What are you saying?
Oh, I don't. Oh, yeah. Drummond. Yeah, I guess I could like be talked into it, maybe.
Oh, that's your boy. Come on now. We know that.
Last year you were like, oh, he should be captain of the All-Star team and like first team All NBA and an Olympian.
Like, why is he not picking teams?
Yeah, him and
I don't know. He can shoot free throws now, I think. Or at least he started off the year shooting.
Him and Jared might hit it off too, man. Drummond's like an easygoing, fun-loving, happy-go-lucky guy. Like they might be besties, bro. Jared
I think he fit really well next to Jared.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man, just two guys.
Yeah, no, that is an interesting one. What I did not really care to mess with is...
Bring Reggie Jackson down too. We'll see how much fun him and Blake Griffin are having.
Griffin.
Yeah. We'll just bring in all these guys that want to have fun. Yeah, any deal with Detroit got to start with Kennard and some of those young guys, man. But I got to be honest, I don't want Drummond or Jackson or anything they have to offer, really. So we're running out of options for me. That's why I'm finding these deals hard to come by.
But the first round, first round doesn't make you listen. You don't care about, because that's a good pick. Whereas like when you talked about the Blazers earlier, maybe not so much, but this could get a future first round. It could be a lottery pick.
Yeah, if I get a first and Brown or Kennard or Kyrie Thomas, then I'm listening.
Okay.
Yeah. So right now Detroit in Tankathon, they're 9th. So if you think that, I mean, they'll probably hover around that range. I would assume probably get worse. I don't see them like doing anything to actually get better. So if you say you're getting a 9th, and then if it's a future, they're probably worse than that. So that's pretty enticing.
Dude, even if it's the next year, even if it's a 2019 pick like that, you put
I
Mark
almost
on
hope
that team.
I think any deal with the Pistons is gonna have to be for Mike. I don't think they're gonna give us enough with Mark. I don't think they're going to be willing to do that because they have Drummond. Like, what, that wouldn't make sense to me, really. I think the best thing for them would be to pair Mike with Blake.
Like on the court, pair them.
Yeah, and then I think that would also allow us to get the return that we're looking for.
Okay.
Do you think Mike on the Pistons and do you think they win substantially more games?
Like make a playoff run. They could get in as the 8 or 7 seed this year, probably.
Yeah, I don't know. I would think so. He's definitely better than Reggie Jackson, so it stands to reason they win more games.
But they're never going to be great because they're not getting free agents and they can't draft for shit, really. So
yeah. So I think those first rounders would be good.
Yeah, they're a few games out of the playoffs in the East right now. So maybe that could push them over the edge, but there's also just as much chance that it won't work out for them. So Detroit, so we'll keep our ears to the ground on that one. That's kind of interesting, depending on first round picks and such. Another one out there is Toronto, potentially being a suitor for Mark to kind of shore up their front court a little bit. So one trade that I came across was CJ Miles, Valanciunas, and a 2020 first rounder.
No, I mean that didn't really fit at all. The CJ Miles and Valanciunas are older, and that first rounder is going to be bad. So that didn't do it for me, really. I'd rather do Blazers
because their pick will be better.
Pick will be better, and yeah. I think their pick will be better. And didn't we get a younger? I mean, I'd rather have Evan Turner, I think, than just because he's expiring. I mean, I don't. CJ Miles and Valanciunas, like, what are they? They might even help us win games, really. Like, Valanciunas is pretty good.
Yeah, right now he's averaging 12 and 7. He's played in 30 games. I think he's had some injury problems. He wasn't playing the last time we played against Toronto, and he's only playing in 18 minutes a game. So like his per 36, he's the second in scoring behind Kawhi, and his per 36 of 24 points. So I mean, seems to be a decent middle of his career player. But so you're concerned that would be that he's winning. He's like too good and would help us win games between this year and next year.
I guess I mean that a little bit, but then more so the first rounder wouldn't be as good. I mean, I guess it's possible Kawhi leaves and then they start the tank, right. in next year even, and then so this is even that next year. So, or I guess Yeah. This will be the next year's season. So if Kawhi leaves and they got an aging Lowry on the roster, they could go into full blow it up. So if you want to bet the futures there, see what happens.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see. I hadn't thought about that too much, but Toronto, once they get, if Leonard doesn't resign there, then
they've said they're going to blow up. Like they've.
Oh, have they?
That.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, in so many words, they're like, hey, we're going to swing big now, but basically their idea was either we can just keep like winning a pretty good amount of games with Lowry and DeRozan, but never getting over that hump, or we can swing big now to try to re-sign Leonard and make the finals. And if that doesn't work out, then we're tanking, which is what would have happened anyway whenever, Lowry and DeRozan got too old. And so they're like, swing big now. And then if they have to tank, then whatever. But I think that's what they'll do if Kawhi walks. But shit, I don't know. I don't own the Raptors.
And they've got some interesting young pieces too, like OG Anunoby, Fred VanVleet, DeLon Wright, maybe some young guards that we could potentially squeak out of them if we include another role player or something. So I'd be down to talk shop with the Raptors just because of the depth of their roster.
Yeah, man. I like Pascal. I'm a big Pascal fan.
Oh yeah.
I can't imagine us.
He's an all-star.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
I fucking love Pascal, man.
Yeah, he'd be a great Grizz. He's just how do these teams find these guys? I mean, we have to draft in like literally like the top 4 in order to get anyone that matters. Like, and even when we do, sometimes we draft the worst like lottery pick of all time. Oh God, dude. Oh, okay.
So the Grizz played in New York this afternoon, and per Amari Sankofa, the Grizzlies beat writer for The Athletic, Mark's agent called him during the post game in New York City, and Mark just he saw it and turned his phone over and was like, I'm not in the mood right now for this. I still want to enjoy this. This meaning like the fact that the Grizzlies actually won a game is probably, I don't even know, in the last couple weeks probably. This was a really rough week for him with the having leads, blowing it, and then
stepping out of bounds.
Carl Anthony Towns.
You just rhyme, bro.
Stepping out of bounds, Carl Anthony Towns.
Hey.
Yeah, and you got to imagine Mark and Mike are just ready for something to happen, whether it's, staying in Memphis and building towards the future or getting traded. This has been going on for like 2 weeks now. So you can, I can only imagine their mental state is like, all right, just something please happen so I can get settled in and just get ready to move forward.
Yeah, and I appreciated what Mark said last week about, he's like, he's been asked every day about being traded. He's like, if I stay here, that's great. If I get traded, I hope that the team gets a lot back in return. Like, I just want to, he still enjoys Memphis as a city and everything, and wants the best for the fans and stuff. So he hopefully gets a good return back. And I'm sure that's like an ego thing also, where you want to not be like, oh, I was worth a sack of potatoes. Well, that's really cool. You want a good haul when you get traded as well. I would assume, for my days of being traded.
Yeah, you just don't want it to drag out, man.
No.
Woj dropped that bomb, what was that, almost 2 weeks ago? And then, you look at the Knicks, man. They met with Porzingis at 9 a.m. He was traded by 1 p.m. It's literally they nixed it, got it out there, got Dennis Smith Jr. and DeAndre Jordan starting this afternoon.
They nixed it?
Carl
Anthony Towns stepping out of bounds.
Mixtape coming soon.
The Knicks nixed.
And on the Knicks broadcast today, their team president said that they had 8 offers on the table for KP, and then they went with the Mavs one. So they didn't dangle him out there to have to deal with the media for 2 weeks like we've done Mike and Mark. But it is what it is.
Right.
It's much easier to trade Kristaps Porzingis as well than it is Mike and Mark. So,
especially when their goal was just to open up cap space.
Great move there, New York. New York.
It's easy to make moves when you have no vision moving forward and you don't have a plan to get better, which could very well be the case with the Grizzlies right now. But you would think that the Grizzlies are going into these meetings with, here's offer A. If this doesn't work, we're going to take offer B from this team. So I would assume they're still in the gathering information phase because Zach Lowe and a bunch of other national guys expected this weekend for the trades to really heat up, and nothing's happened. Like absolutely nothing other than the Portland trade today for Rodney Hood. So maybe they're just acquiring offers. Hey, maybe they're getting more offers than we're being made aware of. They're getting so many offers they don't know which one to choose from. And they're going to surprise us with a good move here soon.
I like to hear that glass half full mentality.
Where did that come from?
Yeah, you heard my sun shining in Memphis. You got hype. You heard
this
Fleetwood Mac
weed
in
I
your
just
head.
hit, man.
That'll get you there, huh?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to write a review for that one.
All right, moving from Mark, switching to Mr. Mike Conley. So like last week is last Friday, and then again this Friday, some more reports have surfaced about Mike Conley, the Jazz being a potential suitor for him. So, also this time has been updated to Ricky Rubio's like the centerpiece of this trade. So a lot of people have speculated that the trade involves, Rubio, Favors, or, some other combination of players and a future first-round pick. So that was the future first-round pick was definitely called out there by the folks reporting it. And then sounds like Memphis pulled back on it because they were wanting more for Mike. And, we're here like 3 days later, still hadn't heard anything. So no triggers have been pulled there. But the Jazz, I know we talked about them, a couple weeks ago in our emergency pod. What are the thoughts around the Jazz? Kind of what's the minimum? We'll start with you, Mason. What's the minimum that you would want from Utah in a trade for Mike?
So I don't mind Rubio or Favors. And, if Rubio were to sign for a couple more years at a low price, he would ideally be a good point guard for Jaren to have and learn from, because he would just be diamond Jaren out the ass. And that would allow Jaren to like score 40 multiple times, I think. But for me with the Jazz, I would need the pick like Tony Jones from The Athletic has reported out there in Salt Lake. But I also need Exum or Grayson Allen. I want somebody who can play and who has potential to be on the court with Jaren Jackson and grow over these next 2 years, or potentially longer than that moving forward. Exum, of course, is making like $10 million a year, so the Jazz believe he's somewhat good at basketball, and they've been around him more than any other franchise, and they seem reluctant to give him up. So that's kind of helped me warm up to Exum since we wrote that article a week or two ago. But Grayson Allen I'll listen to, and it pains me to say that.
Does anyone else have like something that they would be looking for out of this deal? Is a one first rounder not enough? Are you not making the play if there's not two involved? Like, is that a deal breaker?
Dude, I would love to get Rubio back. I think the solid deal for me is Rubio a first. I'd love Dante Exum as well. Like, if we get Dante Exum, who's still relatively young, 6'6", like Exum, Rubio, first rounder. Favors, if they want to throw Favors in, that's cool. If Favors isn't involved, I'm perfectly fine with that. And I would love to see Mike balling out for the Jazz in the playoffs too, man. So I think it'd be a solid move for all parties involved.
Yeah, and the thing with both Rubio and Favors, Rubio this year is expiring, so you might be able to flip him to another team. And I believe
Definitely
Favors
Yeah.
has another year, and then he would be expiring. And he's a solid post player, Yeah. So I've kind of been thinking lately that the best deal for the Grizzlies might involve a three team trade, because we might be getting some contracts back that we don't necessarily need or want this year, but another team might find them beneficial. So that's why it's, you got to know all the options on the table, and you kind of got to have a good pulse on what is going on around the league and who is in the market for what, so that you can be able to reroute these guys that you don't want.
Yeah, the expiring contract in the NBA has become like almost as good as a pick. Like,
Really
it's so
has.
weird. Like with the teams that are trying to clear cap space for particular big free agency swings and upcoming summers, and I mean it's as much of an. You will see teams trade assets for expiring contracts, which is kind of a bizarre thing to wrap your head around if you're not like diving into this shit like we've been. But yeah, like y'all said, I would take Rubio first and Exum or Grayson Allen. I want a young guy too. I think that that would be fair. And Derek Favors, if we need to make the money work. But I mean, I don't have anything to add to that trade. But I do that. I do that trade. Like I might even do Rubio Favors in a first rounder, just because I think first round picks, we've seen how hard they are to acquire. We don't have a lot of them ourselves, I feel like. And it feels like we're losing the next 4 of them because of that Celtics deal, just because of the weird staggered nature of it. And I know we're not. But the point being, like, you can take 2 first rounders in the 20s and package them together and trade up in the draft or just do interesting things. So they are really, really, really valuable assets. So you can't just look at them as the face value for and also teams have crazy years. Think about, like, no one would have thought that last year what would have happened to us. You know, like no one would have projected us to be picking 4th in the draft last year. And now, granted, if we didn't have our pick, we would have probably operated differently. But because we did, we tanked and went for Jaren. But the point being, injuries happen, and like picks can be better than you think in years. So you can't always like think, oh, Jazz are pretty good, so this pick won't be good. Maybe it is, and even if it's not, like you can get good players late in the first, and you can also trade picks. So stockpiling first rounders is something that I'm super keen on, and so anytime you say first rounder, my ears perk up.
Really?
I mean, I'm at least talking. Yeah. It sounds like the Solid Snakes thing when he sees a soldier. You guys play Metal Gear Solid? Okay, bad refy. Let's move on.
Know your crowd.
Yeah. KYC. Some folks listening, and he was like, "Oh, I know exactly what he's talking about." The little like exclamation point appears above the soldier's head when when someone sees you, you're sneaking around and shit. Okay, that's what I got. And
then also in Indiana, there's been some chatter regarding them wanting to. You know, they had Oladipo's out for the season. They're still doing really well in the East. Are they going to want to try to upgrade and fight through this season? Or are they going to want to just say, screw this. This is not going to work out. We need to better our draft position. So there's someone who's been potentially looking at Mike from what we've seen. Sort of a package maybe regarding Tyreek, Corey Joseph, Collison, and then, you know, some other names have been tossed around: Sabonis, Miles Turner. You know, really like, like what would
they're not giving up Sabonis, dude.
Hey,
I wouldn't.
They might got to give up one of them, Sabonis or Turner. They've already paid Turner.
I love Sabonis.
Oh yeah. He's like JaMychal Green, but times like 12. You know.
Hey, we need to be calling and asking.
Something shit.
Because we know he can rebound.
People do shit. I mean, people, they do it all the time, man. Like they just get in desperate situations and think like, oh, I mean, why are we going to negotiate against ourselves and assume a team's not going to do something without at least? And they might have very well called them, and the Pacers could have told us to go fuck ourselves. I don't know, but
right. And none of those 3 Pacers guards do anything for me. But if we could reroute them somewhere, you know, because they are playoff caliber guards, or if we could talk about Aaron Holiday, y'all know I like my Holiday brothers, so he's shown some promise. I'd be cool with him and Jaren pairing.
Damn, man! Someone
getting out of control.
Shit. Yeah.
This is going to be a rap battle podcast. What would you take for a first round pick? Sorry, I got carried away.
You Andy King, you a sucker.
Yeah, so Sabonis is a guy I've liked for, you know, a little bit now. Ever since I picked him up in fantasy like last year and realized that he gets a lot of points and rebounds, which are very important things in basketball, something that the Grizzlies do not have right now. Since the Zebo days, those have been like an area we've really struggled in. So I mean, I'd call him. I'd talk to him, see if there's a first-round pick involved, because I don't think Mike's going to put him up over the top. You know, that pick could end up better than some of the other teams that we've talked about. So that was an interesting one to keep an eye on. And then Friday night or Saturday night, Kevin O'Connor reported that of the Ringer that Houston is trying to shop Brandon Knight and a first-round pick so basically a first-round pick to get off Brandon Knight's contract, and they're in discussions with Memphis for JaMychal Green. So based on the money, it'd probably be JaMychal and Temple for Brandon Knight and a first-round pick. So how do we feel about that? Do what?
Can we get some seconds in there too? You know, I would like a little more for both of those guys.
I totally think that's fair because I think, JaMychal's like worth late round first or, early second. And then Temple's he's worth a second rounder at least. So I think that, doing you the favor of taking this contract off your hands and then a couple picks, I think that, to me, that's worth it at least. I don't know if anyone disagrees.
What is Brandon Knight making? Like, what's his contract?
It's like 14 or something like that.
I just went on my first round pick trade a little bit ago. So if you can just get another one, I know this one similarly may not be super high depending on when it is, but future first rounders, you just take those and collect them. And so I do it. Obviously, if I can get a couple seconds, that'd be great. But it's not like if they said, nope, fuck you, first rounder, nah, then I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I'm asking about Daniel House as well, the two-way player, seeing, hey, can we get him and convert that contract? But yeah, I'd be willing to listen to that for JaMychal and Garrett, two guys you don't see in the future plans for the Grizzlies really at all. But maybe trading them separately brings back more assets. We have no way of knowing what the offers are.
Yeah, I think one guy you got to trade for this before Thursday is JaMychal because I think he has he's had a solid year. He should draw a decent amount in return. Like I said, late first, early second. Who doesn't need backup four to kind of shore up their roster? Most teams do. Most teams don't have Sabonis coming off the bench helping them out.
Yeah, so as long as they don't look at his advanced defensive statistics, then we should be good to go, man. We should be able to get a first rounder.
Stay off the Synergy Sports and everything. NBA teams looking at JaMychal.
Oh, I'm sure they don't even look at any of the the stats or anything when they look at these players. Probably, we're probably good.
It's like a dartboard, right? It's just.
Yeah. Well, we have to wonder what the Knicks deal process is. I think they cut off a bunch of chickens' heads and then they let them run around and wherever they die on, just a bunch of faces of NBA players. That's how they decide things. But I don't know.
Man, so KP and Luka in our division for years to come. That doesn't sound too fun.
That's pretty neat.
It's fun to go see, but
yeah.
It doesn't sound like that's going to be a tough matchup 4 times a year.
Yeah, most definitely. All right, so a couple other moving on to, I guess, Garrett Temple and JaMychal Green. So kind of staying in the same. Portland's looking to shore up their roster a little bit. So some things been tossed around for a JaMychal Garrett Temple package. Harkless, Stauskas. Well, I guess they just traded Stauskas, didn't they? So that one cancel. JaMychal and Garrett for Zach Collins and Mo Harkless. Does that spark any interest? I think I'm liking this next one that's on here.
No, yeah, go to that because that one doesn't do nothing for me.
All right. So we get Evan Turner.
Can we talk about Zach Collins for a second, though? People love his ass, and I don't know why. What does he do?
He's a fine backup big man, but
people talk everyone's always like Zach Collins. This guy's a player. I don't know. I feel like there's this weird fanboy love for Zach Collins. It might just be that he's a white guy in Portland.
Yeah, you hit it. You hit the nail right on the head.
Yeah. There you go. Okay. Enjoy some espresso and wear a flannel, my guy.
And go to the bookstore.
Hey, that sounds fun, actually. Shit, I just described myself. Fuck.
Biggest bookstore in some region, the country, something like that.
Yeah.
And here's the last one is Evan Turner, Caleb Swanigan, 2019 first, and Miami's 2021 second pick. So you do get a first out of the deal and a future second. But you got to take Evan Turner.
Yeah, we ain't spending money anywhere else. So, and we get Caleb Swanigan. I feel like he's another guy that he has a weird cult following. They're just full of guys like that in Portland. Biggie Swanigan. It's not my favorite deal, but it's better than nothing for those two guys.
You think that's better than the Rockets deal? I guess we get that additional second. Yeah, it's probably better than the Rockets. Yeah.
Because the first round pick's probably going to be better.
That's true.
Yeah, unless the house is somehow involved, like you said, Mason, then that's like an actual tangible, like pretty good player. At least, I mean, he started a whole bunch of games for Houston while they were doing their comeback. Where obviously Harden was scoring like 50 a game, but he was also starting in those games. He already reached he's on a 2-way, so he already reached his like halfway point.
Yeah, it's 45
already
days.
before the All-Star game. So clearly they needed him, and he's been helpful on like a good team. So he's a player that excites me. In news and notes, Caspi, he had a meniscus tear, and he had
damn it. Man was just playing well, getting some trade value. He goes out there and tears his meniscus, man. That's unfortunate timing for this franchise.
And him.
I mean, yeah, whatever.
Damn.
I mean,
the Cavs God, you have deemed him. He's got a bum knee now, and we're thinking about trade value. But
hey,
you know
man,
what? Go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
We're dangling our franchise cornerstones out here like just some piece of meat for the wolves to come eat. So I can have no feelings for Caspi.
Okay.
Well, Alonzo Ball played basketball again after a meniscus tear, so hopefully Caspi's okay.
Rarefied air.
I think he's going to track Lonzo's career too, so that's great.
Yeah.
Same type of players.
Yeah, they're not like 10 years apart or anything.
Well, and Temple's hurt too, so who knows if that's going to affect any deal.
I don't know who's hurt and who we're not just resting. Is Temple legit hurt? What's going on with him? Like a shoulder thing or something?
Shoulder, right?
Shoulder,
Okay.
And speaking of shoulders, Kyle Anderson is seeing a specialist, I believe, early this week for his shoulder because it's been giving him problems since he came back. So just added to the long list of Grizzly injuries over the past 4 years.
Yeah, we need to put him in. Anyone who's playing who might be traded, put him in bubble wrap or something, or just sit him. Like at this point, give Rab, Noah, Jaren, Javon, like let them run with it.
Which we have apparently put JaMychal in some bubble wrap. But, bro, now is the time when we need to turn to you so you can show your love and affection for your boy, Ivan Rabb, who has, quite frankly, been fucking hooping in the minutes he's been getting lately. So congrats to you. How are you feeling during this time?
Well, every time that I've turned the game on and I've seen him out there getting like, twice as many points as minutes, it makes me feel really good. The guy can work. What I still haven't seen.
It's kind of a weird flex, but okay.
It makes me feel
What I'm
really
waiting
good.
on is a 3-point shot. He's making like 38% of his threes in the G League, averaging like 25 points down there. So I'm ready for him to start expanding his range. Right now, he's pretty much just finishing around the rim. He could definitely use some growth on defense and like some strength. Obviously, the Cat just like rebounded straight over him the other day to beat Memphis. That was kind of unfortunate for an otherwise like pretty solid game from Rab. But I'm pretty stoked about that. From South Haven to Memphis. It's pretty close, but made me really happy. I feel good about it.
Good, man. I'm glad you have that to lean on during these dark times.
You got to have something.
We all need Ivan Rabb to lean on.
Hey, if nothing else, he's like building his future trade value. So
right.
That's worse.
Good for the Grizzlies. All I care about is what can I trade their bitch asses for.
So thank you, Mr. Rab. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's give him the green light. I want this guy to shoot threes. I didn't know he shot that well. Let's give this guy someone needs to empower him.
We need Fizdale.
Yeah. We need a Fizdale comp for Ivan Rabb. What do we think? A combination of Pete Kyle Korver and and Kevin Garnett. Yeah,
Seems right.
yeah.
All right. So final question before we roll out. So the Grizzlies we're going into a rebuild. What year do you think that we should reasonably be aiming to compete in a playoff spot again? So obviously this year is out of the question. On 538, we literally had 0.1% chance of making the playoffs. That was when it was really finally real to me.
What do you think, bro?
I'm thinking that I'm thinking circa like 21. So this year, we're probably going to end up with our draft pick this year. Next year, it's very likely as well that we could finish in the bottom 6 and get our draft pick. So 2021, or is that so 22? Sorry. So then Boston will get our pick that next year, and then I think if we have that gives us like 3 years to put something together. Right as Jaren's toward the end of his first deal, and I think that's like the first. I'm saying things have to go well, but that's the first point in time that I would be looking for us to be competing for the playoffs again. I think anything more than that is probably both too aggressive and also irresponsible to be looking towards.
So the 2021-2022 season.
Correct.
Okay.
I think that if Memphis fans think it's going to happen sooner than that, then they're just going to be setting themselves up for disappointment. But if every move we make is that far future minded, then I think that there's a shot that we could be back into relevancy around then.
You have to fully steer into it in order to make that happen. It's true.
Yes,
you can't
correct.
try to stay
100%.
Yeah, I mean, that would be wonderful. But
I knew this would be the counter to that. 2030, right?
Yeah, so the question I've been asking myself and the people out who I've just come in contact with recently is, does Jaren Jackson,
mailman, the garbage man,
does Jaren Jackson
the food counter
ever play in a playoff game for the Memphis Grizzlies?
Because you think that he'll leave the team before we have a chance to get good, essentially. You're of the opinion that he will change NBA history by not signing his first extension.
Well, I mean, Kristaps Porzingis just forced a trade, so
but he hasn't changed
situation.
Well, no, the Knicks salary dumped him, dude.
Yeah. We might need a salary dump. I mean,
there's no way we can sign KD or anyone worth a damn.
Shit, the Knicks can't either. But
they think they can.
I'm just saying, like, so if all goes well, then we are competing by that time. That would be nice. But I just don't see it happening like that. So I don't know if Jaren Jackson will ever play, even if he goes the AD route. Anthony Davis is a generational talent, and he's made the playoffs twice. So we hope that Jaren can become what Anthony Davis is, or even 80% of that. But I think it's a valid question. Do these Grizzlies ever make the playoffs, or does Jaren Jackson ever make the playoffs as a Grizzly?
We can agree that the Pelicans handled Anthony Davis pretty poorly, though, right? Like that would be the blueprint of what not to do.
I mean, yeah, we can agree with that, and we could also agree that this Grizzlies franchise has given us nothing to believe that they won't do the same.
Oh yeah. I mean, for sure, but that's just like that's exactly the blueprint of what not to do, and I think that Jaren resigns. I think we get at least 7 to 8 years to show him, hey, this is what we're going to do for you. And then hopefully we get another guy like him. I mean, the hard part's over. Like the finding of the guy that we think can be that guy on a good team. We believe we have that with Jaren. So I feel like a lot of those teams, like the Suns, didn't have that for the longest time until they got Devin Booker. And even then didn't really intend on him being what he's become when they got him like late in the first. And then they've drafted terribly. So it could go that way too. I don't know, but it takes a little bit of luck and some conviction to steer into it, and forward thinking about acquiring these young players to kind of develop around each other, and then a lot of luck though, like with how the lottery bounces your way and injuries and stuff like that. So I agree with you. All I want to see is a vision, but I think that this time, I think it's for some reason to have this weird feeling based on the Jaren thing, because like we kind of got fucked with the 4th pick, like we should have had a higher pick technically by chance, but the NBA gives us a 4th pick. So, okay, that sucks. Like we missed out on all these guys we thought, and we were bummed, but then we end up with Jaren because everyone else kind of felt the same way. And who might be the best player in the draft, when it's all said and done in a good draft. So that's already kind of this first little weird luck that happened. And last year, the weird tank by accident, kind of like we happened upon the tank. So now we got this young prospect to kind of kickstart this rebuild. So I don't know. I have this feeling, knock on wood, that like at some point, man, we never even had the number 1 overall pick like ever in franchise history. At some point, shit's going to happen. Like, I think this is the time. I think this is the rebuild. I don't know why, but
I hope so.
I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope it's sooner rather than later, man. I just look at the Western Conference, honestly, and you think of top 8, you know, and you're looking at teams who are going to be good, or teams who are actively getting better. I mean, I think for years to come, the Nuggets are going to be a force in the playoffs.
Yeah, Nuggets, Kings
is going to be Golden State. The Thunder have PG locked up and Russ. You've got the Rockets with James Harden, man. You've got the Lakers with Bron for 3 more years at minimum. They're actively seeking to improve their roster. You got the Mavericks now, you know, Porzingis and Doncic, man. And it's
who's good in 3 years though? Like who's good? What teams do we think are good? Are like the top 4 seeds in 3 years? I think you know Kings, like Mavs, Lakers. I don't think LeBron will be like 38.
I think Nuggets, man.
Nuggets. Yeah, those 3 are going to be good.
Yeah.
Who else is good in the West in 3 years? The Suns? I don't think so. Like who else is like build a nice foundation?
I think it'll mainly be the same.
Utah.
You think Golden State? Yeah, Utah. Yeah, I mean Donovan's young and Gobert's young. Zach Core. You think I don't think the Rockets are good. Then I think the Dubs will have already had to separate.
Well, but you know the Rockets, they can rebuild in an instant. Like Moore is very good and very aggressive at not sucking. Other than a couple of Dwight Howard years, that they're always, you know, in the playoffs and a force to be reckoned with. So can't count them out. The Lakers,
never sleep on the Spurs.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, it's a lot of competition and a lot of teams with kind of legs up on us who have young superstars who are further along than Jaren currently is. You know.
Yeah.
That's what makes the NBA so fun, I assume.
Yeah. So. We just do it right, you know, just have a plan, stick to that plan. Please. And you just got to hope things go right. Like, you know, there's going to be people fired along the way, which should be coming this summer, I would assume. And you start a new process, maybe. Should we hire Sam Hinkie and start the process in Memphis?
The grind sass. I don't know. I'm thinking some shit. But yeah, I'm all for Hinkie, man. Like, yeah. Oh man, I don't know what we're gonna do. But I'm ready. My body is ready for the rebuild. And I'm ready for this fucking trade deadline to be over so we can know what happened. So I can at least like wrap my mind around what this rest of the season looks like and what sort of assets we have, you know, at least to work with.
So on that note, what do you guys, and Rich, we'll start with you. What do you want to see from Jaren going forward throughout the rest of the year, regardless of who's on the roster with him?
Oh, regardless of who's on the roster with him, man, I'm just ready to see Jaren thrust into the role of being the focal point of the offense. I want to see Jaren getting 20 shots a game. I want to see Jaren, you know, continuing to improve his defensive rotations and, you know, his foul proneness, if you will, figuring out, you know, schemes and rotations and knowing when to just let it go. Like sometimes, you know, you just got to let the basket happen. You know, mid-second quarter, if you're down by 3, bro, just give him the layup. You know, he's too valuable. Right. He's too valuable to not play 35 plus minutes a night. And so I just love to see Jaren like get that alpha mentality, that dog, and just go out and ball out regardless of who's on the roster, because at the end of the day, this is going to be his team.
What about you, bro?
I think for me, on top of those things, the ability to consistently rebound is one thing I'd like to see, because he's, I mean, super tall, athletic guy. That's one area that, at least early on, most of the losses that the Grizzlies were getting were you could clearly go to the stat sheet and say, dang, you got out-rebounded by like 15 or 20. No wonder you lost the game. So that's an area, maybe like just general toughness, kind of getting toughed up, getting beefed up a little bit. That'll be like, you know, off-season work, but that probably that area, the intangible area of getting tougher and being able to rebound better.
Yeah, like I have this vision of him in the offseason going through drills with Ivan Rabb and Joakim Noah, just beating his ass on the boards like repeatedly, trying to get tough. And it's good to see Kevin Garnett working with him. Kevin Garnett seems to believe in him, and something that KG told Jaren that stuck out to me was, if you look around and don't see the leader in the room, then it's you. So that's something I want to see from him, is just take control of this team, yell at people when you don't get the ball. Obviously, you can't yell at Mike and Mark necessarily, but you can, you can do it in a respectful way if they're still on the team. But also, I think those two, if they're still on the team, then the talk with the franchise has to be moving forward. This is what our goal is the rest of the season. We want to see if we can get Jaren a 40-point game. We want to see if we can get him to stop fouling. We want to see how we can use him and how y'all can be complementary players moving forward, especially Mark. Maybe not Mike so much.
Yep, I think those are all that is the direction that we've got to take, and if that'll kind of make or break what happens not only the rest of this year but years into the future. So
you guys want to keep Joe Kim around for the rest of this year, or would you be okay cutting him to open a roster spot for a flyer type guy, whether in a trade or just off waivers or something like that?
I'd probably, if there's someone like specific, I don't have anyone in particular in mind to cut him for, but as far as keeping him on, I think that's fine. I don't think it's going to change the trajectory. He himself is not going to change the trajectory of what's happening out there from game to game.
He soaks up minutes and helps us lose.
Yeah, I just kind of like having the crazy around and somebody with that attitude.
Yeah, I think I enjoy just like the presence he brings. I think it's helpful for like everyone.
That soundbite of JB saying, "Oh, Joe Kim's fucking crazy." That was great. If anything we got from the JB era, it's said that. And Joe Kim's fucking crazy.
Oh man, poor JB. He's been dealt a tough hand.
Man. He's stressed, man.
Coach basketball, it's hard out there for JB, man.
He shaved the beard off and everything, man. It's deadline week.
Cool. That'll wrap it up for today's show. Go on Twitter, follow us at Backdoor Cut Show. Also, you can find us on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcasts and other shows. And until then, we will see you next week. Happy hunting on the trade deadline. See you later.
Let's go, front office. You got this, man.
Shout out Nothing But Net on Dash Radio as well. And in the can, got another episode coming for y'all this week on a Spider-Man movie. So I'm excited about that.
Oh,
yeah. It's going to be me just talking about how good the new Spider-Man movie was for like an hour.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah. Hey, you welcome to come on.
Like some trades.